Animating is hard, but there are some things you can do in Unreal to make your animating life easier and to animate faster. This video has 3 tips in it that have made my animation workflow much faster for both games and cinematic projects. Let's get right into it. First up, animation is 100% iteration, where you creep closer and closer to your polished project-ready animation one step at a time. They say art is never finished, just abandoned, so this workflow will dramatically speed up your path to abandoning your animations. Wait, that doesn't sound right. No time to think about that. This video is about speed. Here's my workflow for iterating and thus animating faster through linked animation sequences. If any of these tips were useful to you or you learned anything, please like, subscribe, and drop a comment. Let me know what you'd like to see next. I'm going to show you how to animate faster by iterating faster and using Unreal to your advantage to make it as seamless as possible to create multiple animations, animation variants, but also just tie it back to your game and get it iterating much quicker. So let's get into it. I've got a blank Unreal project that has the third person sample in it. Let me just show you. If you don't have the third person sample content, you can just control spacebar to open up the content browser, hit the plus sign or add, and go to add feature or content pack, select add feature or content pack, and select third person, and then add that to project. I've already got it in, so I don't need to. I have a character in my level already, but there's a couple different ways to make a sequencer. So I'm just going to do this the typical way. If I had a specific animation I wanted to edit, I'm going to show you how I would do that, but it works just as well for creating animations from scratch. It just has a slightly different workflow. So first, we'll talk about editing existing animations. So if I go to characters, mannequins, animations, and then we'll select Manny, and we'll go find a walk animation. So here's run forward, there's walk forward right there. So we'll go ahead and double click that. That's going to open up the walk animation. Pretty decent. And let's say we wanted to make multiple variations of this. So we'll go to edit and sequencer, bake to control rig, CR mannequin body. And when it bakes, click bake to control rig, unlink that level sequence, which means changes to the level sequence will no longer affect this animation directly, which is a good thing. We don't want to break our walking animation. I'm going to go grab this character and move him out of the way. And so now I've got an animation. Very good. And so let's say we wanted to modify this. The quickest way to do it, here's the workflow that I use if I want to make several modifications or several versions and just keep iterating on an animation. The first thing I'm going to do is right click here. I'm going to say create linked animation sequence, and I'll just go put that in content, and I'll call this linked walk and hit OK. Export to animation. And now if you go here and go to content, you'll see a linked walk animation sequence. And I'll just go ahead and open that up. I'll bring it in as a tab into the main window. Control Shift S to save everything. And sure enough, that's just that same walk. Say I want to make a modification to this. If you think of this in terms of this level sequence that we've created, that's going to be our base level sequence. And so I'm going to Control D to duplicate it. So what I did was I went over here and said find viewed sequence right there. Control D to make a new one, but I'm still editing in this one, and I'll always be editing in this one. This is the true linked sequence that links out to that animation. So I have my base animation, right? And say I want to keep that. So I'll go back to my content. I'll go to my linked animation right here and Control D. And that's linked walk 1. That's going to become important in a second. So again, linked walk is still just there, and we have linked walk 1, and they're the same thing. Now let's say I'll go to layers. Let's just select the whole rig, and I'm going to just select, let's say, actually we'll select everything. Easiest way to do it is go to the global control, come all the way down to the bottom, shift click to select everything, and then I'm going to create a new layer. So that is now a new every single thing layer, and we'll call this hunch. So we're going to use this layer to hunch the character over. So we'll come back to the main one. We'll go ahead and get a slightly better camera here. And what we'll do, well, we have auto keying turned on, so we'll just key the stuff that we care about. So we're going to bring his hips back because The rest of them is going to angle forward. And then we'll bring this one down just a little bit. We'll grab both shoulders, and I'm doing this completely without plugins, so no tattools. And we'll bring those in. And actually in this case, you see how they both came forward, but they're also pinching in. I'm gonna let them come out a little bit. So now, let's just see what that does when I hit enter. So we have our keying here, and so now I have this crouching walk. It obviously could be better, but you get the idea, and save the sequence. When I go to linked walk, it's now the hunched over version. So I can now go over here, Control D, and say hunched. And let's go make another example. So now let's just go, it's gonna look real weird because it's a big long walk. Like he has a long stride here, but let's just go even further. Let's bring it down. So now I've got a crouch. It's not a good one, but it's a crouch. And so when I save, I go to my linked walk, and sure enough, I've got the crouch. So I can go to link walk, Control D, and now say crouch. And so now I have a crouch walk. I have my regular walk. I have my hunched walk. You now have a way to fast iteration to updates to your animations. And if you're doing this to like one-to-one with a sequence to the animations, you can just keep saving it and then rolling it anytime you want to back up. If you're not using revision control, if you're using revision control, you know exactly what to do. But if you're not using it and you're just in a project, whenever you want to be able to save past versions of your sequence, you just select your sequence and Control D. And whenever you want to do the same, you want to have past versions of this walk animation, you just Control D and name it off however you like. And that's it. And that's how you can do non-destructive, iterative animating really fast without having to worry about baking out to sequences, without having to worry about all the other steps that might be put into place. This is just modify your animation and it's already out, and then you can just put it where you want it. Second tip is a quick one, but still super useful. Favorites. You're not supposed to have them when you have kids, but when animating, it's crucial. I'm continually navigating in the content browser to find an animation or a level sequence or snag a Manny skeletal mesh or black eye camera to add to my scene. That time searching adds up. So even small time saved can turn into a huge speed up for your animating process. For example, I've got my black eye content right here, which is the black eye camera, and that's way down in engine plugins and I have to search for it. So what I do is I just right click on any of the folders that I care about and I go to add to favorites, and that'll pop it up here, which may be closed up, but this is in your content browser, so Control Spacebar to open this up, and now I've got that cameras folder right where I want it. And so I can do the same thing with tattools. If I know I'm gonna need that and wanna be accessing it quite a lot, I'll just go to the content folder. You can come over here, even on the folders on this side, and you can I'll just right click on the picker, and you can select add to favorites. And so now I've got my cameras and my picker. And then the other two things I've got is the level that this is in, which is just in base content. So I don't necessarily need to add a favorite, but I can do that. And then for the level sequence that we're dealing with, so if we go over here and select the level sequence, you'll notice that's in a very random place. And so I will just right click and do that as well. So now when I need to grab a black eye camera, I can just go grab it. When I need to go and bring up the 3-peat Anim Tools picker or my foot locker or any of those other things, I can grab it there. And it's just a very easy way to navigate and animate faster because you're not going to spend your time hunting through your content browser's folder view. Hippocks, Hippocks 146. I'll call it Hippocks. All right, the Hippocks 146 just changed my life. Posted on my mastering animation Unreal video that you can actually hold right mouse button and then just move the mouse up and down to scroll a lot faster. And I'm not exaggerating to say, I mean, how could you possibly animate faster than that? So this is fantastic. So if you need to move around in the sequencer or anywhere it's so much better. And you don't have to take your hand off of the mouse where, you could click over here and press home. What a great tip. That's amazing. Thank you, Hippocks 146, or however that is pronounced. Hippocks. You are an absolute legend. And it works in the details panel. It works everywhere. Oh, what a gloriously lovely thing. And holding right mouse, in case you didn't know, it actually just it moves wherever you tell it to. So it's a much faster way to manipulate if you're trying to see later in the sequence or on the curves editor or whatever you're trying to do.